Mikel, a late goal to get the draw, but overall, do you think you deserved that at the very least?
Yeah, at the very least. I'm so proud of my players, of the team, the way we played, the way we dominated almost every aspect of the game, and the feeling is very disappointed not to win the game.
You mentioned that you think that you dominated, but do you think that you weren't quite at the same level we've seen you in other games this season, especially in the first half?
No, I think we played better than last year when we beat them.
Really?
Yeah. In a lot of things, much better, yes.
Pep, obviously disappointment right at the end there, but what did you think overall of the team's performance?
Strong mentally, so being there, so it's difficult to play when our intention of high pressing is not effective, because they are good and we are not effective. After how you have to defend deeper. But last season we lost 5-1, today we draw. We were close, it's a little bit dead, but we cannot be, I would say, unsatisfied. We cannot say it's not fair the result.
Can you talk me through that goal, because it was reduced?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Ebsa getting the ball. I just tried to make eye contact with him, and once the ball was open, I made the movement, and it was a great ball from him, and I just tried to put it in the back of the net.
If you are 1-0 up, like till extra time, you want to go home with the 3 points, but everybody knows playing here against Arsenal away, it's always difficult, but we have to keep going and keep working.
Liverpool's gap now is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, we cannot control that. They win every match. It's going to be very difficult, but we have to do what we have to do. And if we play at this level, what we've done against Manchester City, we'll be fine.
Quite a lot to unpick there, even though it was a 1-1 draw, based on both teams' approaches, really. And the stats make interesting reading, but the possession stat for Arsenal would indicate, Theo, that they dominated the game, and even the touch in the opposition box, and yet you didn't feel like Manchester City were under siege, did you?
No, I mean, all the possession that Arsenal had, I've got to disagree with Mikel Arteta saying the fact that they played better than last year. I mean, you won 5-1. I mean, you obviously get a result, draw today in the last few minutes. But for me, it was a completely lacklustre game for Arsenal in the first half, particularly. It really was. It was not Arsenal we're used to. And it was really a bit of a surprise, the lineup as well, which surprised a few people. But you have all these options and it was an attacking threat and you don't utilise it.
When you say that the lineup surprises you, are you talking about that midfield balance? Are you talking about Eze being on the bench?
Yeah, for me, when you sign a player like Eze, the game changers, we just call them, or however you want to call these guys, they want to play in these big games, they want to see people actually be able to take risks. And I feel like in these games, if you want to get results, you have to be able to take those risks. And at this moment in time, Arsenal aren't doing that. I was just disappointed in Eze's part, actually, not to actually play, to be honest, in the starting lineup. And I think, obviously, it changed in half-time, didn't it, bring them on.
OK, from a Manchester City point of view, just on the stats, the 32.8% possession that City had is the lowest figure that any Pep Guardiola team has recorded in any of his 601 top-flight matches. Was that needs must because of the week they've had, because of players coming back from injury, because of the opposition?
Probably a bit of everything. I think the 5-1 as well last year, I think that's probably fresh in Pep's mind as well. Arsenal are a strong force. They're one of the favourites for the title. Maybe he's thought away from home. If we get a point, it's a decent result. But I think Pep will be going up the road today disappointed. They concede a 93rd minute equaliser. Yes, they had possession, but I don't like this word dominated. Arteta mentioned it. Declan Rice mentioned it a couple of times in the interview after. I don't think he dominated possession, but my interpretation of domination is shots on goal, keeper making loads of saves, blocks, hitting the post. He didn't do that. He didn't create that many chances.
So they didn't dominate for you?
Not in my opinion, no.
OK,
right. Didn't dominate.
No, we're agreeing on that.
Let's go back to that first half then, that you were talking about, and a lack of intensity. Why?
Well, for me, obviously, Arsenal had a lot more time to prepare for this game.
Because they played Tuesday, City played Thursday.
And when I say lack of intensity, it was more the fact that these players were out of sync and the options weren't available to the likes of Saliba. In past, obviously Declan Rice would make a move, but there was no options, and the easy options to come outside and go and recycle the ball. But they were going long quite often that led to nothing. And this was a general pattern. And the flow of Arsenal, the first touch, Gyökeres, not quite happening for him today. Again, it was more the fact it was a bit sloppy. And Gabriel here, we'd be a bit calm in these circumstances. And again, it's just more the rhythm that felt nervous today for Arsenal watching them. The easy option here for Raya is to go out to Saliba and Rice, but when I talk about habits, they played like they didn't know each other today. That was the side of it. Going long to Timber, it's not often it happens. Rice calm on the ball, plenty of options. Again, he goes long to Madueke. How often do we see Madueke get the ball in this height? We never see this. So for me, this was the difference in the first half. Little things like this, poor decision making, the energy wasn't there, and just the final pass here, when you look at to make the difference, this was disappointing for me. When I'm talking about dominate, for me that wasn't in the first half.
Does that partly come? I know I'm going back to the midfield thing, and Mikel Arteta was quite defensive about that afterwards. He said nobody criticised the midfield in Bilbao, and it was the same midfield. Yeah. In the Premier League, Rice and Mourinho, when they've started together in midfield, they've only won one of the 10 Premier League games that they've featured. Is it a problem there?
Well, I think there's a number of players that like to play that position. I think Mourinho isn't at number 10. I'd like to see maybe someone like Eze up there who's going to be a bit more creative. We've got some similar players, and when you have a number of players that are left-footed as well, Mourinho and Zubimendi are very similar in that sense. So for me, at times, they get in each other's way. And I think the balance isn't right for me in that position.
If you have Gyökeres there as well, are they having to learn as a team how to go long to him?
I think so. Look, he's a player who likes to go into space, but clearly there wasn't much space to go into today. And they're not playing to his strengths in the big games when Arsenal actually have all the possession. I don't think it really actually gives Gyökeres his main gifts. It's not about possession. He's all more about a counter-attacking player for me.
Let's do a positive though.
Yeah.
So far it's been,
I'm more positive than negative.
You are, and look at the equalising goal from an Arsenal perspective.
Yeah, for me, Mikel talks about game changers, super subs, finishers, however you want to say it, but Martinelli would have been disappointed, obviously not starting today, and I think in past times people whinge about that. But look, Albert Stuyvenberg just messaged to Mikel about should we just change things up, and this was very, very different. You never tend to see Saka on the left-hand side, and Martinelli went on the right-hand side. So it was a pattern that's not happened, and they just felt we need to probably change something, do something different. And then 3 minutes later, this happens, the connection, the eye contact that Eze and Martinelli are talking about, and the run is perfect, the timing, everything about the goal and the finish. Obviously, we can come on to the keeper shortly, but when you have in that position, there's only one finish you can do. And Martinelli is rewarded tonight with his patience and his attitude to come off the bench, because that says a lot about his character for me.
You were saying as well that he's one of the few who will sort of run in behind.
He's the only one. He's the only one. I couldn't name you another player that would do...
Out of that group of attackers.
We'll be happy to not have the ball and make the runs, to be those... there's no one else in that team that does that in Arsenal for me.
All right, let's delve more into City's approach today then.
Well, I think the game plan was probably to give up possession, sit in a relatively defensive shape. And when you have the players like as Haaland and Reinders breaking from midfield, you've still got a chance of winning the game. I remember, famous teams like Mourinho in the past giving up possession, but they're still very dangerous on the break. This is the goal. I mean, this is phenomenal with Haaland. Keep an eye on Haaland here. I mean, it's a brilliant flick around the corner of the Reinders, but watch the pace. Him and Gabriel are equal at this point, and he just leaves him for dead. It's a fantastic pass from Reinders, and then again, can the big man finish? Too right he can. First touch is good, and then his eyes lighten up. I know he's a left footer, but just slots it away nicely. But again, that's from a sort of defensive shape, and this is the picture we've seen, Mark, most of the second half. Man City were really very deep. I mean, we don't see that often. Even Haaland's in the back line there defending, defending crosses, defending balls, and making Arsenal go wide, keeping it really, really compact. And this is not like a Pep Guardiola team at all. It's normally the opposition teams, I guess. And we've seen Arteta in the past when he's got a lead. He's getting everyone behind the ball, like we see here in this picture. Everyone's behind the ball, defending the box. Of course, they don't have to score again. So keep it nice and solid. Have Arsenal break through the lines. Can they, break us down, basically? It's a bit like we do in training, Theo, attack v defence. Can they get through the lines? Are they good enough to break down? And I don't think they were today. I really don't. I think they got lucky in the end with the goal. This comes this is the goal. It came from a corner. And he watched City here. Now, they'll be raging with this. They break away. I think it's Reinders, Rodri, Savinho, and... it's Gonzalez, they break away. This is probably the first time they break away for the second half, really. They break out from the group. And look at the back line, the back four, the back five. Now Pep's going mental at the sideline. What are you doing? It's the 93rd minute mark. and now they're in a bit of trouble. So keep an eye out here now. Eze gets the ball, but Savinho's only came on the 87th minute. For me, he's the most attacking player. Go and press Eze. He's just jogging. He's disinterested. There's no pressure on the ball. The back five have to drop. They don't. And then keep an eye on Donnarumma as well. I think he's in good position. His starting position is really good now. But this ball from Eze, in my opinion, is world class. So a goalkeeper, his job is decision making. For me, he makes the wrong decisions. He stays in that position. If he drops off like we've just shown, drop off. I think Martinelli doesn't even take the shot on. There's another angle just coming now. Watch Donnarumma at the top of your picture. Brilliant ball from Eze, don't get me wrong. Great touch from Martinelli. But if Donnarumma drops off when the first ball comes in, make that decision, the right one, I don't even think Martinelli takes the shot on. He might play the Gyökeres or whatever, but he makes up his mind, Donnarumma's positioning. It's a brilliant finish, but I think the goalkeeper helps him.
So 9 times out of 10, as soon as that ball goes over the top, you as a goalkeeper would
Where the decision
retreat.
is to come and sweeper keepers, we've seen many a time, or drop off. You know, goalkeeping is as much about making saves and stuff, but it's decision making, and for me, he made the wrong decision.
Do you also take into account what Pep Guardiola spoke about afterwards, the week that they've had? They've had the Manchester derby on the Monday. They played Napoli on the Sunday. They played Napoli on the Thursday. Arsenal played on the Tuesday. So is there an element of tiredness for them? And the reverse of that is he's picked the same starting lineup for all 3 of those games, so he could have rotated.
Well, that's down to him, isn't it, as a manager? He could have rotated. I mean, there is an argument for 2 days extra rest for Arsenal, of course there is, but Napoli had minutes as well in the game on Thursday, so I don't know. I just don't think City have hit the heights that we've known in the past, you know, possession-based football. And what I would just quickly comment, I think that comes from the goalkeepers. I think Donnarumma, for me, is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But Man City have to change how they play. Now, there was times today that the centre-half would normally go back to Donnarumma and keep the ball. But they weren't. They were just sort of giving it back to Arsenal and sort of defending the box. So that's something they'll have to adjust at Man City as well.
Is that a missed opportunity for Arsenal? Because Liverpool have started the season relentlessly, so you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with them, aren't you, if you're going to be in a title race for Arsenal?
I don't see it as a missed opportunity. I really don't, because I think this season Arsenal need to make up more draws. You know, I don't think they're going to draw as many. I think they're more likely to win those games that they drew last year. So for me, it's probably a point gained in the end, because it could have been lost. It could have easily been lost today. You? Think so?
I was looking for your opinion.
Looking at me there?
Yeah. You know, when I look at you, I expect you to talk.
I think it's an opportunity missed from Arsenal. I really do. The home advantage. They'll have to go to the Etihad the second half of the season, and it'll be a different game. Then I think it's an opportunity missed. A bit like the Liverpool game a couple of weeks ago. They went to Anfield. They sit very defensive. I think they've got so many attacking options, and Eze, for me, is a miss not starting him today.
OK. I prefer it when you dominate the conversation.
And he made a run in behind him.
And the mentality as well for Gabriel Martinelli. Didn't come on till the 80th minute.
Yeah.
Disappointed not to be involved, but then to come on and yet again in a big game make an impact.
He's a big player, you know. Either you start the game or not, you have to keep your focus high. You have to be ready, because it's not only for yourself anymore. You have to keep your ego around the team, and you are here to do a job. You are paid to play football. You are here to represent the club, which is Arsenal. So I think he has shown it again once today that we can, all Arsenal, the team, the fans, they can believe in his ability, either he start the game or being on the bench. But we all thought today he's going to start the game. But he showed us that we were wrong, and he actually proved us also wrong, that him coming in, he can also be a different, he's always focused. And I think that's a big and a strong message for the coaches now, that, okay, I put you on the bench, maybe to punish you, maybe for whatsoever reason, but you have proved me again wrong. So I think now it's going to be hard for the coaches now. You have Saka, you have Madueke, you have Eze, and you have Martinelli. It's a big problem, which is a good and positive for the club.
And my message to him, I wouldn't be, now I want to play. You know, especially with what he's done the other day with the Champions League. We know what he's capable of. He's somebody that needs consistently to be playing. You know, I think that now, on that kind of form, you know, the manager chose to put Trossard in after scoring in the Champions League game instead of Martinelli. Well, I thought the pace would have been a problem for City, especially when they started with the guy at the back there, Kusanov. So if I'm him, I'm probably saying, listen, when's my chance coming? When do I get to, you know, have a run and a start in this team? Because I think I deserve it.
And the irony was, Madueke was a little unfortunate himself to be substituted at half-time, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. It was. I thought he was excellent, actually. One of the real bright sparks in the City low block. He looked electric. Him and Nico O'Reilly were having a good battle. Carved out probably the only half-decent chance of the first half, but it's a tough school. It's a tough school. Arteta, fair play to him. Maybe he's held his hands up and thought, you know what, I made a mistake with the starting 11. addressed it at half-time, a totally different Emirates, and they were pounded on the door and eventually got a well-earned goal.
Well, Mikel Arteta has become the first manager in Pep Guardiola's league career to go 5 league games unbeaten against him with that late equaliser. And here are the thoughts of the Arsenal manager.
You've mentioned your finishers being as important as your starters, and Gabriel Martinelli again comes on and makes an impact.
Yeah, very happy. That's what they're here for, and both of them, Eps as well, with the ball he plays to Gavi, the timing of his run, and then the quality of the finish is unbelievable.
And do you deserve credit for the fact that these players that aren't starting still come on and are super motivated? There's no sulking or anything like that?
No, because they're all going to play. They all have opportunities today. Willie played, Leo played because of the performance of last week. Eps doesn't start. He's happy to come on and have the impact. We're going to need them at that level. There's no question that that's something very necessary.
And just finally, you got a point at the end, but obviously Liverpool's gap now is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, we cannot control that. They win every match. It's going to be very difficult, but we have to do what we have to do. And if we play at this level, what we've done against Manchester City, we'll be fine.
Yeah, Newcastle away a week today is next in the Premier League, so they've still just lost that one game against Liverpool. What do you make of, I mean, he's obviously phrasing it to try and keep everyone happier when they're not playing. They're not substitutes, they're finishers. And he's come on Martinelli and finished today.
It sounds different than being a substitute, but it's still, you're a substitute. And the fact is you've got to come on and you have got to try and save the team again. You know what I mean? You want to be on the pitch and you want to start the game and prove that you can do that while you're starting, because what's going to happen now, is he going to get typecast now? You know, because he's a finisher, he's done it in the Champions League, he's done it in another big game, you know, against a big team. At some stage, you think to yourself, well, when do I get my chance to be the starter? When do I start? So, you know, that's something that I think that, you know, his performances and him coming off the bench and doing what he's doing, you know, it only highlights the fact that, you know what I mean, I want more. And, you know, I'm going to prove that I can do more. And when I do get the opportunity, I've got to be more consistent when I do get it, so as people don't think I'm just an impact player.
This is when Arteta will go through a lot of difficulty, because we all remember the first year of Pep Guardiola in Barcelona, where he used to have Deco, Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o. He doesn't know who to play. And I think right now, Arteta is in that situation. People, when they look at Arteta, they think Arteta is a manager for the last 10 years. Arteta has been coached maybe 5-6 years now.
Yes.
So for him now, he's also learning, because now you have a player that would knock at his door every weekend and say, my friend, I want to play. And that's the way he has to make a call to see who's going to be the best for him and how he's going to manage all these players. It's top form, because it's not easy to manage players that want to play week in, week out. And they are obviously, some are from Brazil, some from England. They are international. They want to represent their country. Before you represent your country, you have to make sure you start in your club. And for me, that's when all this things, we will see how Arteta will manage the situation, because it can be problematic for the club.
That's a really interesting point, because we're so early into the season. If they had a game tomorrow to win the league, do you think he'd know his front three and the sort of attacking midfield player?
No.
Or would he just... I mean, you've got to throw Ødegaard into the mix, who's injured at the moment, the captain.
No, I don't think he would. I think it's really early. I know it's a hypothetical question, but the fact is that when I look at it, I'm playing Saka, Eze, and probably Gyökeres. You know, in my mind, straight off the head top. And
with Ødegaard behind.
With Ødegaard behind, or Martinelli. So I know that out of those four, those three of those are going to start. I know that straight off the bat. But then what you want is, and what Arsenal have done and what they've done brilliantly, is they've made the kind of signings that will challenge the players that's in there. So that gives him a problem in respect of him, because it's up to everybody to play well enough to push whoever the best ones are. So then he's got the problem of not knowing who he's going to start. And that is where you get to the levels where the levels then raise up, and then you're able to challenge Liverpool, Manchester City.
I think that's where man management became very important, because you have to be talking to all these players to keep them happy all the time, even though knowing that they're on the bench. Because me, when I was on the bench in Arsenal, I knew that I had Thierry Henry, Dennis Beckham, Robin Van Persie in front of me. But it was not easy for Arsene Wenger, because every weekend I'm in his office, telling him I'm here to play, I have to play. So those are when you need a manager that can calm the situation down. We have never seen Arteta going through those moments, and I think this is the right year for him to go through. Manager, I want to play. Gaffer, listen, I'm not here to sit on the bench. You didn't bought me to be on the bench. I'm here to play because I want to win Ballon d'Or. I want to be the top goal scorer. I want to be the best player in the league. So we all have our individual things in our mind, whether you like it or not. But at the end of the day, we put into collective. So before you put into collective, we have to think of what I can do, what I'm going to bring into the team. If you're on the bench, it's hard. Martinelli, I think in a couple of weeks, we will lose him because if he stay after this game, imagine next game he stayed on the bench. Then for him, the head will start going, then the body will follow. Then he will spoil the whole training ground.
He comes with the territory, though, because they're the biggest net spenders. He wanted more strength and depth to challenge for the title. He's got it, but this is the nice stroke hard problem that comes with it.
Yeah, of course. And that's why I think Pep Guardiola's famed for wanting such a small squad, 20 players that you can manage. But ultimately, if you want to challenge on all fronts, and Arsenal can't afford to give up any trophies, they've got to attack the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League and the Premier League because they need that silverware to back up the good work they're doing. The League Cup coming next week's a big one for them. It means they can rotate it a little bit and give people some minutes. But as Eddie said, I've been in dressing rooms where you can amass the best teams you want, but the fire that's caused when you get to October, November, and people aren't getting the minutes that they were promised when they signed, that their agents have been told, don't worry, you're going to get your chance. When your families start getting involved, why are you not getting the minutes? You're just as good as him, blah, blah, blah. That's when you show what a good manager you are.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I can't really add to that.
But this is the challenge Mikel Arteta's probably going to have for the first time with that strength and depth, with the bench that he named today.
Yeah, and that's exactly what, I'm sure that's what he wants. And I think that even today, with his selection, and I think Joe mentioned it as well, maybe he realised that it was by half-time, I made a mistake. And the main thing with that is being able to say, right, I'm just going to switch it and bam, and make the change. Ideally, as the games get more important, he'll make those decisions, the right decisions, right off the bat. Now, people are saying, well, it might not be the wrong decision. In my eyes, I'm starting Martinelli and Eze because at home you want him to go in. He gets the crowd going. Martinelli, Eze can make those passes like we saw him do. So we need to start that quickly. You're looking at a City side that come to defend. When have you ever seen that? You've never seen that before. 5-4-1. They've come to do that because I don't know if it's because they've played so many games, played 3 games with the same team, Joe. Yeah. I don't know. You could see that they were getting tired. Erling Haaland had to go off, It's a situation where things are changing and it's good to see like Pep now. Pep's changing now. He's gone 5-4-1. You know what I mean? He's realised, right, I'm going to sit back. I remember there's times when Arsenal went to City and they said they sat back. I think they got a 2-2 draw. He said, you've got to be going there to win. If Pep can come somewhere to sit back and try and hold on to a result, then Arsenal should be able to do the same. So it's going to be interesting to see if people make the same comments about City coming to defend that Arsenal did the last time they went to Main Road, to the Etihad and didn't get it done.
Very, very early days, only 5 games in, but they're already 5 points behind Liverpool.
Yeah.
Is that any concern at this stage or just too early?
Not really, but we all knew that Liverpool are not going to lose 6 or 7 games during the season either. So I think in 2-3 weeks, if they are still leading with that gap, then there is a problem. They have to find a solution. Liverpool are playing quite well now. Remember, Ekitike is doing the job properly, scoring goals. Isaac is at the moment on the bench playing one. By the time all those players will click in, they will be unbelievable. They will be unstoppable, I think.
I think if they lost today and it went to 8 points, you start thinking about that. Your fan base starts thinking about it. You start thinking about it. You're starting to now think about Liverpool. And if they win, you're like, ugh. Instead of being able to be close enough that even if they win, you can win and you're still close enough. But when you're starting to fight, it would have been 8 points today. If you win and then Liverpool win, it's still 8 points again. So you're constantly trying to chase. You don't want them to get away, Steve. That's the thing. That's why this is such a big result for Arsenal. You can't let them get away and then get away again because you can't lose too many games. Liverpool won't lose too many games, like Addy said. I think the last 4 years, the teams that have won it have lost 5 games, 3 games, 4 games, 3 games. Arsenal would have lost 2 games by now. That's nearly half. So you cannot get into that situation. So you can't. We couldn't lose today. I'm totally honest. And I'm quite pleased in the end. I was more relieved than anything that we scored that equaliser.
I get what Ian is saying. Remember, it's only 1 point that you took today. So from 8 to 7. So for me, the gap is not big anymore. So obviously, Arsenal took 1 point. They'll be leading by 8. Now they're leading by 7. It's still a little bit too much. So I think Arsenal have to start winning. then we have to be praying for other team to lose, which is Liverpool. I don't see how, because now Isaac have a couple of weeks, has some games in, he'll be fit. Then Zaha still doing Salah, and I think it will be difficult to catch, but it's not impossible.